Safety regulations are rigorous, and ships often go substantially above and beyond what is required. Modern ships are required to have state-of-the-art electronic navigational instruments, and most ships substantially exceed these regulatory requirements. The average cruise ship carries 2,700 passenger and 800 crew. There are 5 firefighting teams, 4,000 smoke detectors, 500 fire extinguishers, 16 miles of sprinkler piping, 5,000 sprinkler heads, 6 miles of fire hose. So crew are responsible for embarking and disembarking passengers, for loading, discharging, or securing cargo, and for closing hull openings. Onboard passengers must complete approved training in passenger safety and cargo safety and hull integrity. And I can verify, my son works on a ship, and God knows I would not be comfortable with him working on a cruise ship if I feared for his life. Just like my daughter's a flight attendant, I would not feel comfortable if I wasn't sure that flying was safe. But despite a few crossings, rough crossings and stuff like that, or even small breakouts, you hear about these illnesses, people get sick. But it's so small in comparison to, you going to your office and catching the flu. The chances are worse for you to get sick at home than it is for you on the cruise ship. But I can tell you that even the entertainers on the ship have to be trained in passenger safety, and they know what to do in the event of an emergency. So everybody gets trained on that ship. Cruising is safe, and it is one of the most valued ways of going on vacation. It is one of the safest ways of going on vacation. And I hope that, if you've got additional questions, you can go to the CLIA website. That's Cruise Lines International Association. You can go on their website, and there's going to be tons and tons of information and statistics about cruising safety. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, I'm so excited. We've got Bryan Coates here with Oceania Cruises, and we had a fun conversation. And it's just a lot of information, and it's an exciting and upbeat interview. I hope you will enjoy. This is Karen Duncan, your bucket list buster. I will be back in a minute.
We're a generation of beach-loving, sun-worshipping, fun-binging vacationers. That's why Beaches Family Resorts is #1 for Generation Everyone.
That's right, my generation.
With the best all-inclusive resorts in Turks and Caicos and Jamaica, Beaches promises a good time for everyone. From the best water parks in the Caribbean to more land and water sports than anyone, Beaches includes it all, even unlimited scuba diving.
Yeah, all about a good time.
Kids love the Caribbean adventure with Sesame Street. Teens have their own scene with Xbox Play Lounges. Parents get a chance to recharge and reconnect too. Whether it's a relaxing massage or sharing a 5-star global gourmet dinner at one of up to 21 fabulous restaurants, Beaches has something for everyone at every age. It's all about generating good times that last for generations. Beaches, Generation Everyone.
To start your beaches vacations, contact Peaks Cruises and Tours, peakscruisestours.com. Welcome back. This is Karen Duncan, your bucket list buster, and I have the pleasure of having with me Mr. Bryan Coates, who is my business development manager with Oceania Cruise Line, which is one of the premier luxury lines out there on the water right now. Hello, Bryan.
Hello, Karen. How are you doing today?
Fabulous. What about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good here in South Florida, enjoying the weather.
What's the weather like today?
Oh, it's a nice, breezy 75 degrees. And so it sucks that I'm in an office today, but I'll be getting out of here soon enough. So
that's okay. We make some of our listeners really jealous because with me being in Panama, I woke up, it was 80 some odd degrees, but my family, I have family in Michigan and in Chicago and that is not pretty out there.
Not at
Still.
all. And I have
Mm-mm.
coworkers who just had to fly from Miami to New York, and it's like in the 40s up there. So they're
Mm-mm.
they're they're not loving life right now.
No, no, not at all, not at all. So I'm so glad you decided to have this little conversation with me today because I want more people to know about Oceania. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, it is. It is
Okay,
pronounced Oceania, even though there's an I there. The I is
right.
silent. And a funny story about that was originally the brand was supposed to be, Oceana, but that
Hmm.
was already trademarked. So they just
Ah,
threw an I in there and say, you know what, we'll just throw an I in there and we'll still pronounce it Oceania, but that way
and
we can
we'll
get the
go
name
with it.
cleared and we can go with it. So that's how that came about.
That's funny. That is so
It is.
funny. But yep, I'm glad they're out there for sure. So
Oh, me too.
let's talk a little bit about you first. So who are you?
Yeah.
Where did you come from in this industry?
Well, I'm born and raised in Miami, and the funny thing was, like, I never thought about being in the travel industry. My
Nobody
goal was,
does.
yeah, listen, my goal was to get to the NBA. That was my goal, and I started actually working. The first time I ever saw a cruise ship, and that was the only job I've ever had in my life. A friend of mine told me to get this summer job over at the pier, working for Royal Caribbean Cruises. And so here
Wow.
I am, young guy, 17 years old, and a whole bunch of us are there for a summer job, and we were making 5.50 an hour. And basically, what we did was we were the guys who greeted the buses that came in from the airports. We greeted
Right.
all of the guests that drove up, and then we told them where to go. And then sometimes we would be upstairs, and we would be the guys who checked all of your documents and gave you all of your cruise card and all of that good stuff. And so that was my job all the
Wow.
way, and then I got a college scholarship to play basketball. And so this
Where'd you go
job
to
was supposed to be
college?
I went to Florida International University, FIU.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
started there, and then I transferred to Palm Beach Atlantic University, and I finished there. So this job was supposed to be my little summer job just to have some pocket change until I made it to the NBA. But as you can see, 20 something years later, here I am.
Wow. Wow. Nobody plans on going into the travel industry. I don't
No.
believe, well, maybe now,
Nowadays they do.
perhaps,
Nowadays
yeah.
they do.
But
Because
back in the
I've
day, nobody, I haven't met
no.
anyone between my age and your age
Hmm.
that purposely said, I'm going into the travel and tourism industry.
Yep. And but you can see the change and everything now because now there's like travel and tourism
Right.
degrees and things of that nature here.
Yep.
We always have interns here. Even at the
Yep.
other brands that I've worked at, it's remarkable how many people, especially younger people, who are getting into the business, and it's good to see because normally it's a mostly older crowd that's in the
Right.
travel industry, so it's nice to see fresh blood with new ideas. Everything's so techy now, and it's good to have younger folks who are into that industry, bringing
Exactly.
that knowledge over into the travel industry. So it's really nice to see.
That is very true. I taught for 10 years at Austin Community College. I taught in their travel and tourism program.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I did. And when I initially went to work for them, all of my students were older than me. Everybody was, a second career type of thing, or they were about to retire and they wanted to
Hmm.
get into the travel industry. But toward the end of my career there, a lot of my students were younger. I never had anybody that was really 18 years old, but at least I was
Wow.
getting some people that were 20, 25. So you could
Yeah.
you could see the change was taking place. I'm glad to see that because we do need the younger blood in the travel and tourism industry for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And
For
and this
sure.
and I took a class. I took a master's class at FIU to
Oh, okay.
long, long time ago. I didn't do
Okay.
very well because it was a computer science class, but I was technically challenged at the time.
Oh man. And speaking of FIU, like there's we since I'm based here in South Florida and whenever the ships are here, we also do a lot of different like ship tours and things of that nature for the travel and tourism program students there
Right.
to get them on board so they can see the product and understand how the background of what goes on behind the scenes with cruises and things of that nature, so that they get a better insight on what they're doing in their business. And it's so many different jobs. That's what I tell people. It's
Yeah.
people think, whenever I tell people I work for a cruise line, they're like, "Oh, you work on the ships?" I'm like, "No,
Right.
I do
There's
not."
so many
There's,
more
oh God,
opportunities.
there's so many different opportunities in all types of areas, from marketing to, anything you can pretty much think of, accounting. That,
Accounting. Yeah.
yeah, there's all types of different jobs in the travel industry with all of these different brands. And being here in South Florida, everything's based here, so it's
Yeah.
almost impossible not to get into the travel industry when you live down here.
Well, you need to let me know the next time you guys are doing ship inspections. With my daughter being a flight attendant, I get some really good rates to get back and forth to Florida.
Okay, I'll let you know for sure.
Yeah, and I'll just stay with her and then come
For
in
sure.
and do a ship inspection. That'll be fun. Yay!
Yes.
I love
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So you started off at the dock
Yes.
with Royal Caribbean. So
Yes.
where did you? How long did you work for them, and where did you go, and how did you get to Oceania?
Yeah, it's a long story, but
I
I
got time.
so eventually, Royal Caribbean bought the Celebrity Cruises. They bought
Right,
Celebrity Cruises, so that company merged. And then once I finished with my degree, I went over into the offices, and it was really cool how they worked with me because they knew I played basketball, so I couldn't be there every single day, but they would allow me to work one day a week, at the airport, just so I could keep my seniority and keep my years.
right,
So they really looked out for me. So that by the time I came into the office to work full time, I had already had a bunch of seniority. I had tenure, and so it really helped me once I got into the company and worked full time to just really, I get extra vacation days, and I had my insurance packages already great. So everything worked out pretty well. So I started in reservations, and from there, my degree is in. I was a double major, so my degree is in communications and marketing. And so
nice.
my original goal was to go into public relations. Corporate communications is what they
Hmm.
call it in the corporate world. So one of the first jobs that I had was I was in what they call corporate guest relations, and from there um, you write letters on behalf of the executives of the company. So when people wrote in with their complaints and things like that, anything that got escalated to the executive level, it would come
Right,
to me. And from there, I would write, a really nice letter. Oh, I'm so sorry about
right.
this and that. And you would send that off and whatnot. And I was going to parlay that into getting into corporate communications, aka public relations. But basketball again
Right.
reared its head because after work I started playing basketball at the offices because we had a court, and I met all of these really cool guys, and they were all in the sales department, and they
Of
were like, "Oh
course.
man, you should come to sales." Da, 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 da. And I never considered myself a salesperson. I was like, I'm not that type of guy. And the way I always thought of sales was like my father was a car salesman,
Ah, that's
before
so
before
different.
he became a teacher. So I always
Mhm.
thought that being in sales was that kind of pushy and
Right.
that kind of sales stuff. And I was like, that's not me. I'm not a pushy guy. I'll tell you about the product. If you want to buy it, you want to buy it. If you don't, you don't. So I
Exactly.
was never like that type of guy. But they all said, man, it's perfect. All you have to do is it's relationship driven. You have to know how to speak with people and communicate and da 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 da. And so I said, okay, I'll look into it. And at that time, Royal Caribbean and Celebrity at the time were one brand. So they had like one president and
Right.
one, sales department, and everybody was kind of selling everything. But then Mr. Fain, Richard Fain, who was one of the most brilliant people I've ever met in my life. He is the chairman of Royal Caribbean Royal Caribbean Cruises. He had the idea to break off both brands, and they would become their own separate brands with their own presidents and everything else. So it'd be like two organizations under one umbrella. And when that happened, all of the guys that I played basketball with all jumped over to the Celebrity brand, and they all said, "Hey
Wow.
man, you should come with us, come with us." And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and give it a shot. So I interviewed for the position, got the job, and it was pretty much like an entry level type sales position where it was mostly email based. I had like the biggest territory in the history of sales because I had like all of the
Wow.
United States. I had Canada as well, but it was mostly they were utilizing my writing skills, you know,
Right.
to craft emails and things like that, and they would just blast those emails out